In 1989, Jim Henson was in the process of selling his company to the Walt Disney Company in hopes to achieve two things. One was to give him more creative freedom. He was bogged down by all of this business that he really didn't want to be involved in. He'd rather just sell his company and do the creative fun stuff. And the second part is that he wanted to really revive the popularity of the Muppets. Brainstorming at the marketing team over at Jim Henson, they came up with this idea to revitalize Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, and hopefully the rest of the Muppet cast. The marketing team at Jim Henson Productions came up with an idea centering around Miss Piggy. They would launch in early 1990 called the Pig of the 90s. Since coming to the Muppet Show, Miss Piggy had always been infatuated with Kermit the Frog, sparking a relationship and eventually several different marriages and dating scenarios throughout TV and film. It was completely immortalized. They were a lot like a Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, sort of, except for Pig and Frog. But the marketing team wanted to break up the Frog and Pig duo, doing something completely unheard of to hopefully boost their popularity. This would have Miss Piggy declare herself as that strong, independent woman that we came to know as the stereotype of the 1990s. This wasn't just an idea either, it was a well thought out, constructed plan that would play out throughout 1990 and 1991, going into 1992 as that transition into Disney was occurring. And this would give Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog a spotlight as they were creating new things like Muppet Vision 3D and different TV specials and new films for these characters at Disney. Everything was linked to a TV special where the Muppets visit Walt Disney World, and the entire campaign would launch along with that TV special. With the special looking to air in early May 1990, Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy were to go on the Today Show on May 4th, 1990, and talk about that special, but things would go not so great.
You've been everywhere. How was it to work in a swamp? That must have been quite a change.
Yes, it was, especially when I was told it was not going to be a swamp. We were going to be in Disney World, and we started the show in a swamp, and of course no one told me.
Well, we started the show in a swamp, but...
Anchor Deborah Norville would be the interviewer for this couple, and Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog would be on to talk about the relationship between Disney and the Muppets and this new TV special, but things quickly went downhill as we saw Miss Piggy visibly get upset.
About that stuff.
I think it's time to talk, and I think it's time to talk about us.
It's not time to talk about us, Piggy. We're here talking to Deborah about the topic. Piggy.
I am trying to talk to my frog about something that I've been trying to talk to for a long time, which is I think it's not working between the two
Piggy,
of us.
don't. Piggy, we're trying not to get into this stuff right now.
Don't touch me!
The interview then goes from an interview to a full-on fight, completely ignoring the interviewer altogether and really doubting what their relationship could be in the future, or basically showing the entire world that Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy as a couple were over. The next step in this campaign was to go to People magazine to post an article showcasing that this relationship was completely over and giving more popularity and more recognition to the Muppets. The article did get printed and hit newsstands on May 14th, 1990, and the People magazine and the Today Show interview were the only things actually spelled out and done as part of this campaign. By the end of 1991, Miss Piggy was supposed to have gone on several talk shows daytime and nighttime, be seen out with actors like Tom Cruise, and have her own coffee table book, as well as a biography that anybody could buy. This was completely planned. May 14th was the last time that we saw this executed in People magazine, and the reason why it ended was because 2 days later, May 16th, Jim Henson passed away. The ending to this campaign was left completely open because they wanted to garner the public's response. If people were really upset that Miss Piggy and Kermit weren't together, maybe they'd end up back together again. If they really loved this brand new, independent 1990s Miss Piggy, maybe that's the direction that they would go, and possibly launching a brand new Muppet television show. Maybe they would keep them separate, maybe they would put them back together, maybe they would give them brand new boyfriends and girlfriends. There was no end in sight for this entire campaign, but because it never got off the ground, we'll never know what the actual outcome would have been. With Jim Henson being deceased, his children came in to take his place, and with the ink not dry on the Disney deal, they decided to opt out of the working relationship between the Walt Disney Company and Jim Henson Productions. Disney would go on to work with the Muppet characters, launching Muppet Treasure Island, a Muppet Christmas Carol. They had Muppet Vision 3D at the theme parks, but they never got ownership of the Sesame Street characters or never had any ownership over Jim Henson Productions. This is all really sad because this campaign did start, and in a 2-week span, we saw it completely begin and end. And the trajectory of the Muppets characters and the Jim Henson production, or Jim Henson Entertainment, or Jim Henson Company as we know it, could have been much larger, starting in the 1990s. And ever since Disney's owned them, they've still never really found their footing. They've still never figured out where their place is in the world. If all of this kind of sounds familiar to you, it's because Disney did use this breakup scenario to launch their brand new Muppets show in 2015. You might have seen that kind of Office-style spin-off show that only ended up lasting 1 season. Now, there was a lot of hoopla over the breakup before the show aired, but after the 1 season and after the flop of the show, it was never really spoken about again, and we can all assume that Kermit and Miss Piggy are just back together. But all in all, after Jim Henson's death, the Muppets have really never found where they belong. They've really never gained that momentum that Jim Henson wanted them to gain with the addition or the merger with Disney. They've had a couple of movies, they've had TV shows, they've had some other specials, they've made late night show appearances, but nothing really ever fits. Sesame Street still exists, and other Jim Henson productions have gone on to do other great things, but the Muppet characters themselves, Kermit, Miss Piggy, Gonzo, Fozzie, they seem kind of lost in a different era. And even though they're still something that everyone enjoys seeing, they spark joy, it's not something that feels like pop culture anymore. And I really do hope that they find that space, either through some kind of marketing breakup campaign or something else in the future. If you really enjoy more Muppet kind of talk, well, A, I had a video a while back about Gonzo, you can check that out right up there, and B, we're going to be talking more Muppets on this channel with a brand new series called Muppetology. This is one of those videos, and there'll be more in the future, so make sure to like and subscribe to this channel if you're into Muppets, or Sesame Street, or all kinds of Jim Henson things. I'm excited to bring that to you, and in the meantime, thank you for watching, I really do appreciate it, and keep on moving, people.